Hello everybody. Today we'll take a look at a really popular library, a table library, component library for ReactJS application. The library is named Material Table, and as the name suggests, this table is built on top of Material UI, which is a very popular UI framework. And as a table component, this library is hugely powerful. Today we'll take a look at some of the features this table offers to us and see how to take advantage of those. Here on the left side of the screen you can see that I have already created a project with create react app, and I have removed some unnecessary files from here. So this is the current status of the application, just a headline that says material table demo. We will add some table components to this project later. To use material table, if you go to their documentation, you can see that you need to install three packages. One is material table itself, another one is material UI core. We already talked that this table is built on top of material UI, so you have to add that as well. And if you want to use material icons, you can install the material icons package as well. You don't have to absolutely have to use material icons. You can choose to use some other component library as well. I'll show you how to do that, but for our purpose we will add these three libraries. One is material table, material UI core, and the material UI icons. On the left side of the screen you can see that I have already added these three dependencies, so this will be your comment for that. Okay, after you add this dependencies to your project, we are ready to use material table. Let's first create a new folder and tables and create a new component as well. Let's give it a name of basic table.js. Okay, so how actually material table works? Material table works in a very simple way. Let me explain the code to you first. You can see that there is a data. Obviously in your table you will want to show some kind of data, and this data is an array of objects. Currently we can see that there is a simple object which has name, surname, and birth year, and two items in the data. You can have as many items as you want. And also there is a columns property. This columns means which piece of data will map to which piece of into which column. For example, this name column, the field name, will be mapped to a column in the actual table with the capitalized name, surname, and birth year. Okay, so let's use this basic table, import this basic table into our home page, and let's see what it gives us. Okay, it's taking some time, so let me show you the table. Okay, here is our basic table. We can see that the name is mapped here in the name column, the surname is here, the birth year is here. Also we by default we have the search functionality in our table, which is pretty nice, and also looks like we have the pagination functionality here as well. Let's try to search something and see if it works. Yes, it works. If I search for Faisal, yes, we can see that as well. So this is very nice. We already have a basic table which has the search functionality by default. Okay, for viewing pleasure, I don't think these styles. Let's simplify a bit. Let's give a margin of 50 px. Yes, now it's much better. Okay, so this is a basic table, but if you look closely you can see that this table doesn't look all right. For example, here we can see the words SE. Here are some weird characters, here. So what's happening? I'll tell you what is happening. We talked earlier that material table uses icons separately. It doesn't have the icons built into the table. So we already installed the dependency for the icons, but we didn't use the icons inside our table yet. And if you go to their documentation, you can see on the install page on the bottom part they have shown how to use the icons properly. So the idea is, if you try to import all of the icons at once. It will be very heavy unless you have the support for tree shaking. You should, in ideal world, you should import each of the icons one by one and use them inside the tables. But this can get very annoying because obviously you will have a lot of tables and a lot of icons, and importing them one by one can be a bit challenging. So to solve that issue, what we will do, we will create an icon provider. That icon provider will have all the necessary icons for us, and we will reuse that throughout our project. Okay, so let's create an icon provider, for example JS, and put the code in here. Okay, let's see what's happening. Here we have we are importing the icons one by one, and we are creating an object with the icons with their appropriate names, and we are just exporting the icons from this component. This is pretty simple stuff. Earlier I talked about how we can use a different icon library to be used with this material table. You can see that we are importing the icons from material UI here, but if you want to use a different icon pack, for example Fontos or something else, you can install that library, import the icons here, and you will just replace the icons name inside here. Okay, we are not going to do that. We will just use these table icons throughout our project. So this is the icon provider file that we can reuse in all of the table components basically. So to use that, we have a special prop named icons, and you can see it's already suggesting us to use the table icons. So we may need to import that. Yes, after importing, you can see that it says table icons. Okay, now you can see that here is the search icon, here is the down caret, the forward and backward icons, they are rendered properly. So this way you can use the material UI icons in a clean and nice way, and the way is to use a different icon provider as well. Okay, let's see how we can improve our table. For example, almost all of the tables have some actions associated with it. For example, some kind of row action. So you may want to delete some of the row data. So how can you add that? This is very simple if you use material table. Let me first say that there are two types of actions. One type of actions, those will work for each row. For example, if you want to delete a row, then you will need to have an action button or something like that on each row. And there are some table actions for the whole table. For example, you may want to have add a record to the table. In that case, you have an action button somewhere on the toolbar to say that add a new record or something like that. So I will show you how to use how to create these two types of actions and how we can modify those. For that, material UI material table has a special prop named actions. It's an array of actions. You can see here we are adding two actions here. The first one is the delete user action. So you will specify the icon. Here you can see that this is the delete icon, so you can change whatever, you can use whatever icon you want. The delete user tooltip, for example, when I hover, it says that delete user, to give the users a hint as this is only an icon. And the on click functionality. So what do you want to happen if someone clicks on this? So currently we are just showing an alert. Here you can see the alert. Okay, so this is the row specific action. So this is the default action. So if you just add an action, it will be a row specific action. But here we can see a special action which is on the top of the table. That means this action is for the whole table. And to enable that, we have added a separate action here. There is a special property named isFree action. So isFree action means this action will be applicable for the whole table. So this way you can create two separate kind of. So here you can easily understand that we can add as many actions as we want. So we have added 2 delete actions, which is obviously stupid, but this is how you will do that. So this is very easy, right? Okay, so let's say you don't like this delete icon. For example, you want this delete icon to be something else, your own component or something. How do you do that? Well, material table gives us the ability to override some components, and this is very easy to do as well. To override some components, the components can be the toolbar. You can change the look and feel of the toolbar. You can change the look and feel of the footer, the headers, the rows, the buttons, the actions. There are many options. I will link the appropriate documentation page for that. But for now, our objective is to change this delete button. We don't want just an icon here. We want to have our own button here. How to do that? We can do that by using this components property. So what this components property does, this components property gives us the ability to override some things. For example, here we are overriding the actions component. So earlier our actions had a delete button, but now, for example, we don't want this add action. It will be easier to understand. So we are overriding this action button, and we are rendering our own button component here. So now here we are saying that this is a custom delete button. So here we are saying using this button component to be rendered instead of that icon. So now it will do the same thing as before. We don't have to do anything else. The action will work as expected, but now we have the ability to modify this. For example, we may want to add some styling to it. For example, something like that. Or maybe we want a black border, right? Okay, so this is the ability. This is a very nice feature that we can modify the action buttons here, right? Next, let's render some image to our table. Right now we can see that we are only passing the columns and the data, and all of our data are being showed here as text. But do you always want that? For example, if in our data we have the image of the user as well, for example, let's add an image URL for that, right? We definitely don't want to add this image URL. For example, do we want something like this? What will happen? It will just show the URL as a plain text, but obviously we don't want that, right? We want to show an actual image of that user. How we can do that? This is also very easy to do. We will just add a special render. So what do we want? We want this column to be rendered in a special way. So we will add a special render property here. Here you can see we are adding a render property. This render property is returning an image component. This image component has the source property which matches with our actual data's key. So our key is image URL, and we are rendering the image URL here. So whenever we want to modify some column, we want to modify how a column looks, we can use this render property of this columns array to render whatever we want. So we can render an image, a card, or anything we want actually. So this is very powerful for us, right? Okay, so now let's talk about another special thing about this material table. This material table has a very powerful powerful feature called options, and with this options prop we can add a huge a multiple numbers of features just with turning them on and off, right? So a powerful feature of material table is it allows you to export data into Excel or PDF. I have never seen any other library doing that. This is really helpful in many cases. Otherwise I will have to use some kind of special Excel processing library like React Excel or something to export the data. But now to export data from our table, what we have to do, we will just add this export button to true, turn this on inside this options prop, and now we have a special icon here which says export. Let's try to export it as a PDF, and it will download a PDF for us, where we can see that our data is being downloaded as a PDF. This is really nice. Okay, but one thing you have to keep in mind, that this export will not happen for these specially rendered properties, so you have to turn them off. I will link to the documentation. So you can also turn on and turn off some of the columns that you don't want to be exported directly, right? So this image, we don't want it to be exported like the URL, because that's meaningless. Okay, so this is the export button. Another nice option that we can turn on is the grouping button. So what grouping does is it adds another section in the table, and now we can drag and drop these columns. You can see we can drag and drop these columns. If we drag these columns here, it will group the data by the name Muhammad. So we can't understand only by two pieces of data. Let's add a similar maybe Muhammad Kashim, and another maybe Muhammad Hashim, right? So if we want to group all of the users who has the first name as Muhammad, we will just group it here, and you can see that under the name Muhammad there are 3 persons, Faisal, Kashim and Hashim, and under the name Naim Rahan there is only one person named Shubha. So this grouping feature is really nice, and to turn it off you just need to pass these options. You don't have to do anything else. Okay, from the very beginning you can see that we already have a basic search functionality, search bar here, but maybe sometimes you don't want the people to search, we can easily turn it off here. By default it's on, you can just pass it as a false and the search bar will go away. So from this place you can actually do a lot of things. Also if you want the ability to sort data, you will just add this sorting as true, and here you can see that you can sort the data by their name. And one thing to remember, this sorting functionality works lexicographically. So if you want your data to be sorted in some other way, you have to do it manually, and obviously you can do it from the column that you want to sort in a special way. For example, maybe we want this name to be sorted in a special way. We can provide a function here named custom sort into the columns, and here you can specify the function that is required for that we want to be used as a sorting function for this column. Okay, so this is really easy. So that is all. There are many more features. It's very hard to touch all of them. You can check them here. There are lots of features. It's very powerful library, so you can easily use this in any of your React projects. But there is a catch. The catch is this material table is a really heavy library. So you can see at the 202 kilobytes, it's really huge. So if you're already using Material UI for your project, then using material table is the most logical choice. But if you're not using Material UI, and you don't want some of the really customized functionality that we are seeing here, then using this library might be an overkill. So for those you can use some other table libraries. There are lots of other libraries here. For example, our suite table, this is a table that I really like. It's only 30 kilobytes. It doesn't have all the features that Material table provides us, but it covers almost 80% of the use cases for you. So you should really look out for those tables as well. But if you don't care about the bundle size, then Material table is the champion table component for any ReactJS applications. Thank you for watching. See you in some other video. I will link the GitHub repository and an associated article for this that I have written in the description below. Thank you.